Welcome to another episode of I Hope This Doesn't Suck, brought to you by LawrencePhoto.com. Now here's your host, Jake, otherwise known as me. I'm Jake. What's going on, everybody? It's Sunday, which means that it's weekend recap time, and video format's back, so if you're watching on YouTube, what's going on? If you're listening at home, totally reasonable as well. Nothing really all that exciting happens on the video format, other than me staring at your face for, a while there. So we got a couple different things on the docket. First thing, I did another photo shoot on Saturday. It was for the Ackermans again, which is a totally awesome. It was super fun. We went to this birthday party. It was Mason, their daughter's first birthday. So I was honored that they asked me to shoot it in the first place. It was really, really a good time, and I just really enjoyed doing it. It was really fun. The birthday party, like the place they had it was insane. It was this beautiful house out in Corrales. Awesome. They had a huge pool and just overall a really, really beautiful house. And it was wild. It was right in the middle of the day, so the lighting was a bit weird. Looking at the photos now, I noticed that I did underexpose, which I'm glad I did, to be honest, because if I overexposed and those highlights were gone, then I would have just been pissed. So actually quite glad that I underexposed. But yeah, no, there were a lot of really, really great photos. They had like a horse, they had a goat, all sorts of cool stuff. Honestly, I'm really pretty pumped. And so that was a really fun time. Doing the photo shoot for them was great. It was their daughter's first birthday, so I was definitely honored to do that. And something I want to talk about is, shooting these events is really cool for multiple reasons. So I finally have, right here, business cards. Look at that. Jake Lawrence, professional video and photo and video service, whatever. What does it say? Lawrence Photo? Yeah. There you go. I finally have business cards, which is pretty cool. Oh, for those of you listening at home, I'm mainly talking to you, Tom. I put my business card up to the camera. Anyway, so I went there, and there were families there, obviously, and one of the families actually approached me. And she said, like, "Hey, would you like to do family photos for us as well?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely," which was really awesome, because you just think about how important networking is, and I didn't even have to ask. I was just there taking the photos, and she said she had seen the photos that I did for Autumn and Matt and Mason for Mother's Day, and she was like, "Yes, I want to hire you to do our photos." And that's like a really cool feeling, I mean, it was just awesome. I was really excited about that. I don't know. Yeah, it's really cool to think about, one thing that I was telling Matt and Autumn was that I hope that, my photos were hanging up in their house. Photos that I took of them, and they said, yeah, tons of them are hanging up in our house. And that's just like a really great feeling. You think about, I guess, you think about things like that you made an impact. You helped, you did this for somebody. Those photos will be up in their house forever. Those are the photos that they're going to show their daughter later on in life. And I was telling them at this first birthday party, like, these are the photos mom and dad are going to hold against you for the rest of your life. She's not a messy eater, so we didn't get any of those like really like funny, like cake all over the face photos or anything like that. But all in all, it was a really good time, and and that's where I'm gonna leave that. So one thing I want to talk about is why to shoot with primes. Right now, the lens that I have on here, that's the 16mm 1.4 from Sigma. First of all, 16mm 1.4. Basically, that's equal on my Sony a6500 that I'm shooting with to a 24 2.1. So you still get that very like strong full frame look. And it's great. So one of the reasons I really like shooting with primes, and one of the reasons that primes are actually not that good of a thing, ironically, is you get a really, really shallow depth of field, because 9 times out of 10 a prime is going to be like a 1.8, 2.8, 1.4 in this case. This is the best lens ever, by the way. Love this lens. And I feel like you get sharper images because there's less, elements of glass like running around in there, having to worry about, refracting through one another. And all in all, I just really like the way that primes work. I feel like primes are a more traditional way to shoot because, people haven't always had zoom lenses. Ansel Adams didn't shoot on a zoom lens. But I did see Chris Burkhardt. If you don't follow him on Instagram, you should definitely check him out. He was able to go to, oh my God, it was one of the very, very famous photography museum and see a lot of like Ansel Adams, like previously unreleased work. And oh my God, it was so cool. I only got to see it through an Instagram story, but it was still really cool to see that kind of stuff. But yes, back to shooting with primes. So I like shooting with primes because it makes you be, I feel, this is my personal opinion here, guys. It makes you more creative as a photographer. You have to really think about your framing, your composition. If you don't like the composition where you're standing, you have to move. You have to think more. Whereas with the zoom, you go, and then you're like, oh, that's good. Now, now there's less headroom or something. You know what I mean? And I feel like it makes you think more. It makes you work harder as a photographer, and I appreciate that about primes. I shoot mainly with the 16 millimeter 1.4 and the 50 millimeter 1.8 OSS on the Sony a6500. Great lenses, absolutely amazing. If you want to see any of my work with either of those lenses, I've posted a few photos lately using them on Instagram at lrntz.jpg on Instagram. You know I had to get that plug in there. What up? God, that was annoying. Who says that? What up? Anyway, that's just, that's just kind of food for thought. I think that shooting with primes forces more of a creative aspect to your photography. You have to really work for it. You got to work harder. And that's not to say if you shoot with zooms that you're going to have any less amazing photos. I just feel like shooting with zooms makes it a little easier. And I like the idea of it being more challenging, I guess. I don't know. I also haven't gotten a chance to shoot with zooms. Zooms are so fucking expensive. I mean, yeah, sure. I'd love to have the holy trifecta of like a 12 to 24, 24 to 70, and a 70 to 200. But I'm shooting with Sony now. I'm looking at like $7,000 for that. Maybe that's an over exaggeration. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't own any of them, and I probably won't. Maybe if I start shooting weddings or something, I'll rent one of those and just to see. Like, oh my God, this is it. I figured it out. My buddy Aaron actually told me that he wants to get a zoom lens for his Sony a7 III. And I had gotten him so used to primes when he was shooting with the same camera that I'm shooting with, is the a6500. And then he got a zoom. He got, I believe, the 18 to 105 f4, and he got spoiled. He told me he got spoiled because now all he has is a 50mm 1.8 for that a7. And when you get spoiled on zooms, I understand why it would be hard to go back to primes. But I really personally have always loved shooting with primes. I mean, one thing that I've always said is I don't know if I would be as into photography as I am if I didn't find a prime, basically. Like I had the 40D with that 50mm 1.8, and if I wouldn't have seen the amazing results that you can get with prime lenses, I may not be doing what I'm doing now. So I mean, I'm thankful for primes as well. This isn't to say that I won't ever get a zoom lens. Maybe I will one of these days, weddings, people say you need zooms. So, you never know. Another thing that I did over the weekend, my wife and I's anniversary is tomorrow because I'm shooting this. What's the time right now? What time is it? It's 10:04, May 27th. So our anniversary is tomorrow, the 28th. And what my wife and I decided is we were going to do something new, something we've not done before for each of our anniversaries here on out. And see this? Right here? Yeah, that was our new thing. We both got our septums pierced. And I'm pretty stoked. I've always wanted to do it. I've always thought about, I've always thought they were super cool. And the pain was significant. I mean, it felt like you had to sneeze, but at the same time as sneezing, somebody stabbing something through your nose. I mean, that's a pretty accurate portrayal, right? But yet, all things considered, yeah. Getting that septum piercing, it definitely hurt, and it still kind of stings right now. You got to do a saltwater soak to heal it. But I'm really stoked that we did it. It's something we both always wanted to do, and I'm really glad that we did it, and that's for our anniversary, which is really awesome. 2 years. What the fuck was that? Anyway, I'm very excited. Also, if you hear that jingling, that's this bracelet. My son made my wife and I bracelets, and there's little charms on here. This is a guitar for my affinity for music, and then the I don't know if you guys can see it right there, but the the heart with a paw in it for our obsession with pets and our love for our pets. And then some more music stuff. And I'm way too stoked to not wear it, of course. I mean, I'm going to wear it every single day. My son made this for me, you know. I love it. Absolutely love it. But one thing that I do recognize is that piercings are not nearly the same as tattoos in the sense of addiction, right? I have a shit ton of tattoos. You know, I've got like my chest and like the side of my head here. You know, I've got a ton of tattoos. And I feel like part of the reason that I have so many tattoos is I've become slightly addicted to it. I haven't gotten a tattoo in a really long time. I want to change that, but we'll get into that later. But really, I don't see piercings ever being nearly as addicting. You know, some people have like everything pierced. Then they have their dermals. This like stung and it hurt for a second and I'm good. I don't know if I really want to get any more piercings, right? Like I like this. It's mellow. And it's not the same as tattoos to me personally. Tattoos, I feel, yes, they're painful. You know, the side of my head hurts really bad, but they're also very meditative because you have to kind of figure out a way to get through that pain. Whereas with a piercing, it's like, okay, this hurts for a second and then it's done. So there's not really time for you to build that up and for you to feel that, if that makes sense. Whereas with a tattoo, you feel it for multiple hours at a time and it burns and it stings, but at the same time, it kind of feels good. Maybe that's a weird thing, but I don't know. I just feel like piercings and tattoos are very different, at least for me, right? So, you know, that's one thing. And then one other thing I want to talk about, we got a new fridge today, which I was very, very excited for. We needed a new fridge. Our fridge was getting beat up. We didn't have enough room in it. We always have a ton of food. And we got a new fridge today. So when I originally went to go get it, I got the address from the Nextdoor app. Again, Nextdoor. Unusual behavior. I got the address from Nextdoor and I put it in to my phone and it was like, get directions. I was like, yeah, go you, iPhone. Yeah, iPhone life. Woo! Anyway, so I got the directions and it took me to Apple Maps. I've always been wary of Apple Maps. I really have. I've always been wary of Apple Maps because I remember when they first released Apple Maps, the like head designer or whatever, like the big honcho of Apple Maps was like, yeah, don't use this. Not yet. It's not there yet. That was like 5 fucking years ago though. Like maybe 6. It's been a really long time since Apple Maps came out. Anyway, so I digress. I use Apple Maps and it takes me to this address and I had to get to a specific address. It was like 2132 and it took me to 2700. So I'm like, okay, well maybe like, you know, the street over is the 2100s, right? So I walk to the street over and I'm just feeling like a total jackass. Like there's a church right there. Everybody's going in. They're all looking at me like, what's this weird dude with the septum piercing doing? And I'm just walking around looking for this house. And it takes me to the 2700s. It says in Apple Maps, 2132. Okay? 2132. Why would it take me to 2701? Okay? So I re-input the address to Apple Maps again just to see if maybe there was a mistake. You know, I'll give you that. No, it doesn't think there's a mistake. Zero mistake. Totally cool. So I'm like, what the fuck? So then I put in the Google Maps, and Google Maps, always been tried and true, takes me right to the spot. It was 5 minutes away. So Apple Maps took me 5 minutes away from, you know, the destination that I was trying to be at. This is like the time when Michael Scott drives into the lake because the GPS tells him to. That's Apple Maps, okay? Okay? Fix your shit. Sorry. It just frustrated me. It wasted so much time. I could have had this new fridge like on lockdown. And then I had to wait longer. But we have the new fridge and I'm absolutely psyched for it. Sorry, I had to look at my notes here. But yeah, one thing is like don't make it the default navigator. If you can admit that Apple Maps sucks, don't make it the default navigator. I know Google and Apple have like their big problems because Android versus that. I don't give a fuck. I use iOS. I like it personally. I use Windows for all my stuff because I can't afford Mac. That doesn't matter. That's not what we're going to get into. And then the last thing today is I am a huge fan of a of a podcast that was introduced to me recently called The Last Podcast on the Left. Go check it out. That's all I'll say about that. It's about serial killers, if you can get behind that. It's a comedy podcast about serial killers. And then, yeah, my wife's birthday was this weekend, which was totally great. Well, it wasn't this weekend, it was Friday, but it was totally great. We got cheesecake, big ass pizza. We had my family come over, sang happy birthday. It was totally awesome. I loved it. Every single second, my dudes. But yeah, I think that is probably where I'm going to call it for the evening. I'm going to have to look through all these raw files. Well, I did already. Look through all of these selects, see what I can do, start editing these photos for the Ackermans. I'm really excited about them. Super great. And folks, if you stayed here until the very end, especially those of you on YouTube, thank you so much. If you like what you see, hit that like button. Sorry, I can't do it. Oh, that hurt. Oh, I hit my nose. Anyway, if you liked what you see, maybe hit that like button. If you want to see more of this podcast, possibly some other YouTube stuff at some point, now that I have a better setup, I'm on this weird little Gorilla Pod thing, got this little light just like, and sorry, maybe hit that subscribe button. If you really, really want to see it, ring the bell. If you really, really, really want to see it, I don't know if this is in yet, but ring the bell and hit all notifications on. We can be best friends. But anyway, folks, that is it for this evening. Thank you so very much for listening to another episode or watching another episode of I Hope This Doesn't Suck. You guys have a great evening if you're watching it in the evening, listening to it in the evening. Or a great day if you're listening to it in the day or watching it in the day. All right. That's it.